You do not have to wait for something to happen, for something to happen. I do not have to tell you what to notice for you to notice. I do not have to give the cue for neutral observation, for you to be neutrally observing everything in your awareness. All of this is already happening. Has never not been happening. Notice the effortlessness of noticing. Observe the naturalness of observing. You do not need magic words to turn awareness on. You do not need to change your state of awareness to be enlightened. You do not need to feel anything other than what you're feeling right now to be free. You do not need another present moment. To understand who you are. it does paradoxically require a subtle and profound tuning of your dial of perception to see what's already here. Mostly due to our very poor conditioning that's outward facing, other orienting, past future obsessing. This ultimate reality is threatening to that status quo. It is also threatening to the spiritual folk who look for fireworks. But this is the true manna in the desert. The source of life, nourishment. Everything else comes and goes. Therefore, when in your experience, these glimpses begin to flash more frequently, the ego or the one at the wheel or the one identified as may begin to feel the heat and subsequently turn up the heat of fear, separation, avoidance, boredom. Something's missing, something's wrong. That's not the right path. It needs to feel like something. It may get anxious because it only knows itself as that. At the same time, it's always been under the careful and watchful eye of the ultimate, has it not? Are you not aware of the ego? Therefore, how could you be the ego? Are you not aware of anxiety? Therefore, how could anxiety faze you? Are you not aware of all past selves come and gone? Therefore, how could you be any of them? There's a blank screen, an emptiness at the back of awareness. At the same time, it's so far back that it's intimately close. Everything projects onto it, bounces back to the brain, gets interpreted, and a world is created. Meaning is made. Attachments. A story of who you are. Meanwhile, are you not aware of all of that? Therefore, how could you be any of it? Effortless, simple, already spontaneously neutral awareness, beingness, noticing. There is no cause to this awareness. There is no source of the source. When I give the invitation to notice or observe or feel or be aware of everything arising in your awareness, the emphasis is usually automatically assumed to be on the things that are being noticed, observed, felt. This time, notice noticing. Observe observing. feel, feeling. Let what's there be there. Also, when I give this sort of invitation, the assumption is usually that what to notice, observe, and feel is the visual, physical, exterior world. Because that's what we're taught and conditioned to quote unquote look at, interact with, relate to, react to as the real world. Not only is it not the real world, because, for example, what about a visually blind person? Think about it. What world do they walk around in their awareness? Not only that, but by the time those sensory phenomena get projected onto the screen and field of awareness, which is where everything arises anyway. Time has already passed. Things have already changed. And you are literally looking at something that no longer exists. Who is the thinker of your thoughts? Who is the perceiver of sensation. Who is the one wearing the mask identified as a relative self? Stay with me. Notice, rather than the things, the noticer. Observe, rather than the thoughts, the observer. Feel, rather than the feelings, the feeler. Who or what is all of this happening to? Is it happening to anyone? Is it happening by anyone? Is it happening within you? If so, who are you? This is excruciating only to the ego, and it will make up every excuse as to why this is not important, not relevant, not interesting. Notice the perception of time passing. Changes happening, movements being made. Who is aware of that? Inside of what is time passing? Are things moving? Who is breathing into your body right now? Are you making the breath happen? Wherever your hands are resting, are you initiating that sensation? The way you are very organically watching this video or listening to the audio. Are you making the images appear? Are you doing anything for the sounds to register in your ears? Where does this all come from? Don't think about this. Don't try to figure this one out. Don't conceptualize. The ultimate reality is not some other heavenly place. It's a shift in identity, perception, awareness, selfness. Here, now. And we only still need to talk about the relative world, the relative personality, relative purpose, relative time. When the ultimate of ultimates is not yet firmly rooted. When the ultimate is firmly rooted, the relative is taken up into it and itself becomes transformed in and as the ultimate. It is not one foot in both worlds. For a while, You may be conceptualizing, taking my word for it, hoping and praying, believing it's true, that there's something quote unquote beyond the relative. But that's just to set your trajectory. That's just to set your sight on the horizon. When you are merely and only identified as and with a quote unquote limited experience of reality. And there's a lot of yeah buts in that as well. Yeah, I think the ultimate's true. Yeah, I've gotten some glimpses of it. Yeah, but I still got to go to work. Yeah, I went to Sunday gathering yesterday, but come Monday, I got to take care of this and this and this again. How do I apply the ultimate to my life there? In the ultimate reality, this is all there is. There are no more opposites. There is no more Monday. There is no more future. Nothing changes and everything is changed. Why? Because you are changed. Something clicks on. God wakes up. Until then, you can't contrive it. You can't conceive it. But you can do your work. You can intend to break through all of the belief systems to the contrary. The only thing limiting or limited is the belief that you are a relative self. And until you see this, it's totally fine to make the distinction, and is even very important, between relative and ultimate. But ultimately, this is not something to apply to your life. These are not principles to try to live. This is not some ultimate lifestyle plan. It's your own natural self. Which means everything included. Notice noticing. Notice the noticer. Notice who is receiving these words and following these instructions. So the one noticing and the one noticing, and the one noticing even the noticer. Can that one be noticed? Can even the word notice unravel? Notice? Observe everything in your awareness, which again is not just physical, exterior, visual, but anything observable. Observe, observing itself. Observe the observer. Stay with me. Stay with me. This is not too hard. It's the simplest inquiry. And observe if the one receiving these words and doing the observing can be observed. Feel the world arising in your awareness. Feel awareness arising. Feel feeling. Feel the feeler. Feel who is doing all of this, who is registering these words. What subtle interior movements are somehow naturally understood for what it means to feel the feeler, for how to notice noticing. Are you doing any of this? Are you making the world come into being? More effortless than effortless. Reality as it is the ultimate reality. The sheer obviousness of the only thing you've ever known is the way to see it. The ultimate reality is reality as it is. And there is no reality as it is outside of your awareness. No objective world that is a certain way without your consent or observation or noticing. Ultimate and relative have never been separate. But in your mind, identified mostly or only and ignorantly as a relative persona, body, mind, ego, especially in New Ageville, that is highly concerned with individuality and uniqueness, finding your purpose, following your bliss. All of this for some future reward and feel good that itself will pass. It's easy and very dangerous to get caught up in spiritual progress. Even I, who am a proponent of Ken Wilber's work, will say, don't get caught up so much in the whole stages conversation. Don't get caught up so much in what you have to do or getting somewhere. At the same time, take responsibility. Don't neglect it. But the ultimate must be seen first, and then all relative questions dissolve and find their place. If you're working only on the relative as the relative with no sense of ultimate, you're wasting your time. At the same time, be aware that everyone in your awareness everyone arising within and has ultimate awareness has a different relative experience and stage of development in evolution of consciousness. But if you grab onto that without seeing that that is relative and that relative is ultimate, you've missed it. However, all 5 basics must be engaged. But if you've not yet seen the ultimate and it feels over your head, it's tempting to sort of put that one on the back burner because you're making progress in your healing, your insights, your awareness. That's fine. But don't forget, all of that comes and goes. And in this moment, which is all there is, nothing comes nor goes. And you have never not known this. You cannot exist outside of the source. Therefore, you already have a direct potential access to this God waking up. God is also very happy to stay asleep in you. But you cannot be without God being there, whether awake or asleep. Do you see? Remember a couple of videos ago when I said the good news is that there's no purpose? Isn't that liberating? You don't have to try anymore. And in the context of what I'm saying today, there's no longer, as long as you have come through and beyond the relative ultimate duality, to even make a distinction anymore. What are we talking about? Ultimate purpose or relative purpose? Ultimate self or relative self? Again, when you're just starting out or when you're still kind of one foot in both worlds, that's important. So if that's still you in your questions, in our conversations, please still make the distinction. But there's a subtle yeah, but hiding out when it's, yeah, I know there's no ultimate purpose, but what about my relative purpose? Yeah, I know there's ultimately no separation. But what about that person that bothers me? I know there's ultimately no time, but when there's a but like that, it's just that you know it conceptually, or you've heard me say it, or you believe it, or you're taking my word for it. Again, that's fine. But when you actually realize it, actually see it, all yeah buts, all egoic arguments to the contrary, all relative questions vanish, dissolve, are resolved. And the relative is no longer seen as it was before. It's kind of still the same, but not. You are literally seeing through new eyes. You are literally seeing a new world, because the world is only arising in your awareness anyway, and when your awareness changes, the world changes. You change. Everyone else changes. immortality, eternity, infinity, all these heavy hitters, oneness, the supreme self, ooh, is no longer as opposed to the relative counterpart. Okay, well, now we're talking about ultimate present moment because we're in an environment for an hour or so where we don't have to be interrupted by relative practical concerns. But in 20 minutes or whatever, when this video is over, I have to go back to a time-bound belief system and take care of a bunch of chores. You're still separating the two, where chores are compartmentalized, the future is seen as real. You're projecting, you're anticipating, you're assuming, you're forgetting this is all there is. This is all there is. And this doesn't mean that. Listen. Again, usually when I say notice all that's arising within your awareness, you miss that noticing itself, the noticer itself, is arising within your awareness as an experienceable phenomenon. And even that, when you can confirm, yes, those things, those entities, those phenomena are arising in my awareness. In whose awareness? Who are you? Aware of awareness. Noticing the noticer and noticing and what's being noticed. Seamless, simple. It really is. Until you see it, until you see that you've always seen it. The relative will be relative and the ultimate will be ultimate. After you've seen it, you don't get to stop the work. It's just the whole world changes. You change. The work changes. Because there's still a risk, and sometimes an even higher risk, of the ego hiding out, the shadow hiding out. You can see the ultimate. You can know the ultimate. That's why the moral and ethical navigatory compasses were always the first tenets of the traditions. Set your sails in this direction of light, love, forgiveness, peace, joy, patience, positivity, so that when you see the ultimate, when you see through the illusion, when the relative is transformed, you're not lazy. lethargic, evil, dark, shadowy, projecting, separate, because that can happen too. So that's why you never land on this. You never land in enlightenment land. It's a forever unfolding process with no purpose. But with immense reward. Let God wake up in you until you become one with that. Until you are taken up, absorbed into who you are. Everything else is a lie. Everything else is pretending. The only limitation is not a relative self. Because when you discover yourself, you recognize and realize you are not limited whatsoever. And you don't have to say, yeah, but I still live in this third dimension. Yeah, but I still have this body. Yeah, but that changes too. Yeah, but I have to take care of these practicalities. Yeah, but, yeah, but, yeah, but. For now, trust me, and you will see. Thank you. Namaste.